Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Ohio State Buckeyes have their eyes set on the 2024 year deal. The last piece of the puzzle, TreVeyon Henderson announcing he's running it back as well for Ohio State. A lot of those guys that were NFL draft picks, day 2 picks, some of them even maybe day 1, Denzel Burke, deciding to come back to Ohio State in 2024. You go out and get Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins in the transfer portal. This is a team that looks to be extremely dangerous in 2024. I want to talk about how good this Ohio State team can be. Really excited to get into this one. And as Michigan fans, like, this one stings a little bit, but you got to give credit where it's due. Like, this team looks to be very good in 2024. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. It has been a blast this offseason, tracking all these transfer portal commitments. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. And Dill, I'm going to kick it off to you. We can start with TreVeyon Henderson coming back, but I want to kind of take a deep dive into what this Ohio State roster is going to look like in 2024 here.
I mean, TreVeyon Henderson coming back is obviously huge. Like that, he might have been one of the best offensive weapons they had last year in terms of like how different they looked when he was on the field and when he wasn't, and how much more explosive that running attack was. I mean, huge get back. Add Judkins in. That looks like it's probably the best running back room in all the country, I think.
Yes.
It'd be really hard to argue anyone else for sure. But really just getting everybody back and feeling like they're playing for Ohio State and like almost like the pride of the program, because you kind of listen to Kirk Herbstreit talk about it a little bit. They did a really good job going out there and branching out, recruiting really everybody in the country and go wherever they want and get their guys. And then he kind of saying like you didn't always feel like they were playing for Ohio State as much as they were playing to go to the league. I mean, this is like the type of team, the leaders, the Jack Sawyers of the world, the guys you need back who kind of can reset maybe what they got to be doing as a program a little bit.
All right. I 100% agree. And I think like all of these guys that were legit NFL prospects deciding to come back tells you how this team feels about what they can be in 2024 and then how bad they feel about how 2023 went. And it's worth noting, like, Ohio State lost by 6 points on the road against a team that won the national championship. Like, this team was not very far off, and you take away a few of those plays, like, that's a different game. It's not like this Ohio State team was bad in 2023. Maybe it wasn't to the standard Ohio State fans have, which is very understandable, but it's very close. And it seems like they're just getting better heading into 2024. Let's start with the quarterback, Will Howard, in that backfield with Judkins and TreVeyon Henderson. They'll bringing in Will Howard. We talked about it when he committed. The addition of Will Howard makes me feel like Ryan Day wants to get back to a little bit more physicality, right? Will Howard is not as talented as a passer as guys like CJ Stroud, but he's a guy that's tough as nails, can move the foot, can run the football with that big body, 6'4", 242 pounds. I have a feeling in 2024, you're going to see Ohio State go back to a little bit more of that run game and a little bit more winning the line of scrimmage, especially when you talk about a guy like TreVeyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins in that backfield.
And then when you look at what they've kind of reloaded that offensive line with, I mean, you're kind of right. I mean, you get a guy like Donovan Jackson back, obviously. I think they're certainly hoping Luke Montgomery kind of steps into that role at one of those tackle spots, probably the right for Josh Fryer, because, again, that unit wasn't good enough last year.
Yes.
I think they know that they're returning. I mean, they're getting Jackson back. They add Seth McLaughlin in the portal, who is an excellent center if he snaps the ball correctly. And I don't really have an explanation for what was going on with that. I just think it got in his head a little bit.
Whether you're moving Seth McLaughlin to guard or not, like, he was a starter for Alabama for years. Like, that is a massive addition to this Ohio State offense line. I know it's going to be a joke and a meme on Twitter. That is a very good addition and certainly going to help that Ohio State offensive line in 2024. But I want to go back to that running back room really quick. And I know a lot of people are kind of left scratching their head like, oh, Quinshon Judkins headed to Ohio State. There's no way TreVeyon Henderson is coming back. We kind of all assumed, all right, Henderson's off to the draft. That makes a lot of sense. They balance each other out so well. That's what makes me think they're going to be a very physical team in 2024. Like, the vision for Ryan Day is we want to be physical. We want to be running the football. And a guy, we all know what Judkins is and what he did in the SEC the last 2 years. TreVeyon Henderson might be the most disrespected player in college football. Like, I feel like people are so quick to forget. Michigan fans aren't, because we remember what TreVeyon Henderson looked like as a true freshman. this is a guy that, when healthy, is one of, if not the most dynamic running backs in all of the country. And I think would have been a day 2 NFL draft pick at that running back spot had he gone to the NFL draft. Judkins, TreVeyon Henderson balancing each other out, keeping each other fresh all season long. One of the knocks.
The big thing for the two, neither of them, I think, have really had that opportunity in college because they've been in backfields where they really didn't have a number 2 in a lot of instances that people really believed in behind him. I mean, TreVeyon Henderson definitely for the past couple of years, there's just not really been anyone in his world, I don't think. And again, Chip Trayanum, solid. Ryan Williams, solid. Like, not bad running backs, but there's such a gap between them and TreVeyon. Yes. In that, like, in a game like Michigan, in a game like Penn State, like, those big games Ohio State's going to play, they always wanted to be able to feed TreVeyon Henderson the ball as much as they could. And same with Judkins, frankly, at Ole Miss. When he was the guy, and there was no one to really spell him. Now you get two guys who I think you can kind of be what you said, be healthy all year, be healthy in the big games towards the end of the year, because they don't have to shoulder so much of the load that both of them had to do at times in their careers.
And make no mistake about it, like, when does Ohio State need to be at their best? The end of November and in December. Like, that's the games that they care about. And having a fresh TreVeyon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins, because they get to share the load all year, is going to be massive. And you mentioned it, there's not going to be that big of a drop-off when TreVeyon Henderson takes a blow on the sideline, because then you got Quinshon Judkins, who, again, is an All-American in itself at that running back position. Wide receivers, I mean, you don't really have to talk about too much. You know they're going to be good. Emeka Buka running it back. Carnell Tate, a guy that we're extremely excited for. 2024, Brandon Ennis. And then Dill. Like, maybe some casual college football fans don't necessarily know. The recruiting nerds certainly know. Jeremiah Smith, like, get to know that name, because he's going to be making massive, massive impacts for this Ohio State team in 2024.
I mean, he's going to have to play as a freshman. You just see how good he is, how
he not
moves it. Just like, I mean, he's as unique as it gets in terms of a prospect. And again, given how Ohio State's done with developing wide receivers like him, I just don't see how he's not on the field early. He's too good not to be.
And he's physically developed. Like, there's not a question of, all right, he's really talented, just needs to physically develop. Like, no, that dude is ready to step on. He probably could have been playing for the Ohio State Buckeyes this fall, if we're being realistic. Now, as good as the offense is on paper, and obviously you want to continue to see that development in the offensive line, the offense is going to be fine. This defense is kind of what we thought heading into this year was going to be the strength of the team. It exactly was. This defense this year is going to be really special. I mean, you have JTT coming back, Jack Sawyer coming back, Tyleik Williams. I might be forgetting some guys. Ty Hamilton coming back. I mean, that is 4 guys on that defensive line that were going to be top 200 picks in the NFL. I think a guy like Jack Sawyer, JTT is awesome. And I'll say this, I'm interested to see what Ohio State fans think about this. JTT is awesome. I think Jack Sawyer is going to be better in 2024. And I think the progression, like, JTT hasn't necessarily, he's been solid. He's been taking some steps. Jack Sawyer's trajectory is going like that. And I think it made sense for him to come back, because that's a guy that in 12 months from now, I think we're talking about as a first-round NFL draft pick. Dill, you look at those edge rushers, that defensive line as a whole, Jim Knowles going into year 3 of that scheme, it's going to be a problem for a lot of programs.
I mean, if Jack Sawyer can just put it together a little bit more with his pass rush and his ability to win on the edge a little more consistently, you're looking at a guy, I mean, against the run, if you go back and watch that Michigan game,
he's a hammer.
He was single-handedly shutting a big chunk of that down, made so many tackles. You leave him one-on-one. He wasn't getting blocked. So the way he dominates the run game, and the way I frankly think this entire defensive line is going to dominate run games, I mean, you get Ty Hamilton and Tyleik Williams back too. 2 guys who, again, when you think Ohio State defensive line, I know, like, the narrative, the Lou Holtz narrative type thing is they're soft. They don't play it. They want stats. They don't, like, I mean, those 2 will gut it out. They battle double teams. They're really tough in the middle. This defensive line, I think what'll make it really hard to deal with is, like, you're going to have you can play 6 in the box against teams that kind of play heavy and still be fine. Cause I just think this defensive line, if these guys take another step, especially Hamilton and Tyleik and Sawyer, I mean, they should be so down.
I'm all for taking shots at Ohio State when I can. You know, as a Michigan guy, like, I'm gonna take some shots if I get an opportunity. If you're out there saying Ohio State is soft along the line of scrimmage on defense, just tell me you don't watch football. Like, could not be farther from the case. This defensive line is extremely good. Now, Can you critique the offensive line? Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. That group needs to take a step. I'd argue that's the group that if they do take the step, that puts Ohio State in a very good position in 2024. But you can't knock that defense and call them soft because that was one of the best units that you saw all year. And Dill, you said it. Defensive line loaded. A best friend for linebackers having a dominant defensive line. You got CJ Hicks, I think, is going to – I really hope is a guy in going into year 3. Cody Simon coming back. I mean, really talented defensive line. 2 extremely talented linebackers. 1, a veteran who I think was arguably playing the best of that linebacker group towards the end of the year. And then a young up-and-coming guy like CJ Hicks who we're excited for. The front 7 loaded. And then you go to the secondary. And you run back Denzel Burke, who would definitely be in the NFL.
And that was honestly the big one, because to me, he was like that one guy who was, I mean, it almost made sense for a personal level to actually go, because like Jack Sawyer, JTT, like they had some meat on the bone, I think. I think everyone knows like those 2 weren't probably going to be first rounds, but like Jack Sawyer started to play like he should be that guy. JTT, you still think probably has that gear in him and has had moments like that Penn State game where he plays like it. It's just not every game. I mean, Denzel Burke, like, I think consensus, he's right up there with anyone at that corner spot. He played so well this year. So to get him back was one of those, like, him and Sawyer to me felt like the 2, like, like you really could see them going because I think they'd be high picks. But to him especially, I mean, he's a first round.
100%. I'd probably throw in TreVeyon Henderson too, quite frankly. I think he's a guy that the NFL scouts would clamor over as a potential, like, that offensive weapon in the NFL. Denzel Burke, Jordan Hancock, Jermaine Matthews has an extremely bright future for Ohio State going into his second year. Ransom's coming back, and that allows Sonny Styles to kind of go back to what he was. When Lathan Ransom went down, they were kind of playing some games back there and trying to figure out their personnel grouping. You get Lathan Ransom back. Sonny Styles, I think, arguably is going to be one of the better players on this defense. So that front 7 dominant, the secondary looks extremely good. So, all right, we've pretty much gone through every single position group on this Ohio State team. It looks very talented. A lot of NFL talent on both sides of the football. Then you look towards the Big Ten landscape, and obviously Michigan is going to be a contender. They lose a lot, but you got to just think that Michigan has asserted themselves in that kind of power, that upper echelon of the Big Ten. And then, I think if you're Ohio State, yes, Penn State's a solid team. You're probably looking at the Oregon Ducks. And I think those are the 3 teams in that Big Ten that are going to be probably all make the college football playoffs in 2024.
And to me, like on paper, just what you know is coming back, it's Oregon and Ohio State. Because again, you kind of mentioned it. Michigan obviously is pretty much losing damn near a whole team of football players.
Yeah.
Because Michigan kind of did what Ohio State's doing right now. They just did it last year when everybody came back. And
I was going to say that. I was going to say this feels eerily similar to what Michigan did last year, where you had guys like Zach Zinner and Trevor Keegan and Blake Corum, all guys that would have been NFL draft picks and decided to come back for one more year. And we kind of saw what happened. I hate to say it, but it does sound extremely similar what Ohio State's doing. Like, they have a lot of NFL talent that are coming back in the 2024 year. Again, this was a painful episode to do, but you have to, I mean, you got to call it like you see it. This Ohio State team is going to be extremely dangerous.
And it is frankly a good, I mean, just if you're looking at like taking a deeper look at the program, I mean, it feels like this needed, because if they just kind of all left after that Missouri game, I think you feel way different. Like, wow, how much has Ryan Day lost this again? I think he's taken a lot of criticism. In some way, he deserves it, because frankly, the job at Ohio State is beat Michigan. And obviously he's gone 3 years and kind of let Michigan reassert themselves in that being the big dog of the Big Ten. But I think that's a lot of surface stuff. Michigan certainly leveled up. They put together a magical run here, but Ohio State's still really good. I think he's still got a grip on that program.
Going back to what you were saying earlier, like, this was like, it's good to see this. Because I think why you think you said Kirk Herbstreit said it, like, I would agree with that. Like, there was at times where it's like, this doesn't feel like a team as much as it feels like just a collection of talent. Like, them all saying that is unacceptable in 2023, we're going to make amends for it in 2024 is a good sign. Like, Ohio State's always going to have the talent. You want that program culture back when Urban Meyer was kind of running the ship. And I think this kind of signifies that that's where this program is. Again, we'll continue to monitor Ohio State. They might not be done in the transfer portal. Though I look at this roster and say, I don't know how many guys available.
The only thing I can imagine is a couple in an offensive line. I think they certainly could, but I think you're right. You look at some of the young guys, especially Luke Montgomery, and if what I hear from the Ohio State people is true about how, and you kind of saw he came into college kind of not thin, but like he wasn't like a 320-pound kid.
He needed some work.
Like, but now he looks the part. He looks like he's really, I mean, he looks like a college football offensive lineman. You knew he had the athleticism and talent. So again, if he shores up that right tackle spot, I do like Josh Simmons. I'm still a fan of him. Everything else looks pretty tough with Donovan Jackson coming back.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, that's the one position group that I'm saying if that group comes together and we're not talking it being like a liability for this program, like this is going to be a really good football team in 2024. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. We look forward to continuing to monitor this situation, but it sounds like we have all the information we need now with TreVeyon Henderson coming back that this team looks dangerous in 2024. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys as usual. Would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. More importantly, if you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.